Okay, so one of the things I want to tackle today is I've got these are the door hinges. Um, one of them, there's the other one. So I need to put these on the car and see if they are going to fit, which I'm sure they won't because nothing fits. They just fit on this little piece here on the windshield. Uh, and yeah, so once I get these on here, then I can kind of start fitting the door and then start fitting the hood because I can't fit the hood until the door's lined up, and it's a whole thing. So I think first things first, I got to see if I can even get these to bolt onto the car, which they probably won't, but let's try it. Okay, so definitely one of the first things that's gonna come into play is, in order to get that on there, this fiberglass, just like I had problems with, with the windshield frame, it's out too far. It's gonna contact literally everything. So I'm gonna cut this whole section out, little by little. Just I don't want to cut too much, but cut a decent amount out so this will actually clear. And then this piece also, because it's been powder coated or painted or whatever garbage coating they put on these, yeah, it doesn't fit. And yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to grind down the edges. And of course, I already tried putting the bolts in here. They don't really fit, so I'm probably gonna have to run a drill bit through there. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I was finally able to get that thing in there. This side is still contacting with something because it will not close all the way. It kind of looks like it's like hitting like kind of the bottom of this weld against like here. So I think I'm just gonna have to grind a little bit of the weld, maybe grind there. I think that'll be good. This side is actually good. It actually worked. I did have to cut a little bit more of this than I thought I was going to have to. But yeah, that one closes all the way. This one, on the other hand, this one's kind of wacky compared to the other side. I ended up cutting quite a bit more. I'm probably gonna have to fill this back in because I got a little carried away. I still don't know exactly where I need to cut them. I need to cut this edge off, but I need to grind that shit out so it'll actually go down before I cut any more of that. So I've been grinding, and it's starting to become clear to me that they definitely welded this on wrong. Because you can see right here, like this isn't even all the way closed and there's like this much gap. But if you walk over to this side that actually fits correctly, it has a huge gap. I can put my finger in there, which tells me that something is welded wrong. And I'm not entirely sure if it's this or the hinge. I guess I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit further, but something's gonna have to get cut and re-welded for sure. Okay, so comparing to the other side, this is about how far it is off. That's about where it needs to be. Now, whether it's the car side or this hinge, I don't know. Haven't figured that part out yet, but holy shit, that is way off. What the hell was this company thinking? God, I am really disappointed with B Racing. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. You pay this much money and like nothing is even close to fitting. Like, Jesus. All right, so I'm gonna ignore that side for the moment because I wanna make sure that even though the driver's side looks correct, I wanna make sure it actually is correct before I decide to start modifying that side to match this side. So grab the door. I'm gonna try and mock this thing up and see if it actually like fits on there without having any clearance problems, and then kind of go from there. Looks like it's gonna fit. Kind of got it pretty close to where it needs to be. You can't quite see it in here, but there is a slight gap on the back side of the bracket to this, so I might have to washer it or bend it or tweak it a little bit, but other than that, it's pretty close. So I set the hood on there just for the moment, just kind of get a mock-up. And I'm starting to realize that it's really not that great a fitment. Like you can see a little bit of gap there, but down at the bottom is the biggest part. Like this part, come on, focus. This bottom part is really far away from the door. And then also, it almost seems like the door, I mean, obviously the hood isn't exactly where it needs to be, but it might be a little bit further out on the top, like sitting further out. I can see there is a little bit of fiberglass I need to trim right there to get this hinge going further, but I don't think that's gonna be it. I think that hinge is actually like a little bit like kind of cocked and almost needs to be tweaked a little bit maybe. I don't know. Okay, so this is what we got going on here. When this one's kind of lined up, it was kind of, you can remember it was kind of sitting up a little bit. I think it's because partially it's hitting, you know, right in this area here, but then you can kind of see it's lifting up a little bit on that side, which honestly isn't as bad as I thought. I think that can be cured with just some washers. I might need to grind just a little bit in here just so it sits where it needs to be, but it's not too far off, so I think we can make this side work. All right, so I marked this where I think I'm gonna drill some holes for that. These are the bolts that were like in with the brackets. They're plenty long enough. I don't know, they're only like I think it might be a 6x1. They're not very big, but I mean, honestly, the door's not that heavy. So I don't think it'll be a big deal. Plus there's actually metal in the door that's like fiberglassed in. You'll see when I freaking start drilling through it. I put a magnet onto it, and there for sure is metal all the way along that edge. But in any case, I'm gonna drill these holes out, and then like I'm leaving this space off because that's where the shock is gonna go for like the lift support. So I don't know exactly where that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be pretty close to the edge. We'll see. Let's get these holes drilled, drill the door, and then maybe I'll just try to tap them first and see if that works. If I can't get it to tap very well, I guess I'll just throw some nutsers on it. Okay, so I got the holes drilled, and I end up having to grind the shit out of this frickin' door, and I had to grind this edge because in order to get this thing to line up where I marked it, which you can kind of see there, this thing had to be really high up on there, and it was contacting all of that so hard. Like it was pretty much unavoidable. Like, God, it's amazing how they just slapped this fucking thing together and we're just like, oh yeah, that's good enough. That'll work. All right, so now I need to drill my holes so I can tap for these bolt holes. So I guess, yeah, let's do that. All right, I got this all threaded up and bolted down. So the company did send me some taps, which was kind of nice of them. There was like 3 of these metric 6. However, they're kind of shitty. I already broke one of them. But that's okay. I've got tons of taps, so it's not a big deal. But I got all these done. Basically what I did is I drilled the first hole, which was this one, and then I tried to eyeball it when I threaded it, you know, when I ran the tap down. And then once I got that done, I bolted it down and then ran the drill bit through all of these so it was at the exact right angle, and then started the tap with the bracket in place. That way everything would line up correctly and wouldn't have some wonky angle, because it's really tricky to do that without some sort of guide like this. But let's see if it still fits on the car. So let's put the bolt through there and see how we're looking. Okay, so even though I took a bunch of measurements and, you know, do all that shit, it still somehow doesn't line up. I'm wondering if I just need to space it out behind this bracket and kind of pitch that bracket in a little bit. So maybe it'll come in a little bit further. I think it's like when this thing actually comes down, it like kind of, it seems like this side is pitched in this way too much. So this needs to come this way. And I think by doing that, it'll bring this in also. So yeah, I need to figure out how I'm gonna make that work. Okay, so I bolted it up with the bracket off of there and just kind of set the door in there to see like what kind of space I had in there. And from what I could tell, this backside was sitting up a decent amount, whereas the front was touching for it to line up. So I guess I'm just gonna throw, you know, a couple bolts in it and just throw like some washers underneath here or something and just see like kind of where I'm at so I know if I'm headed in the right direction. So I've had the door on and off a ton of times at this point. It's still kind of sticking out a little bit on this edge, and it's kind of sitting at a wonky angle. And So what I figured out is I had it kind of bolted up like this, and it needs to go like further in right here. It needs to kind of do that. So I think I'm gonna have to grind this out to get this in further, because doing that is gonna let it go into where it needs to be. Not to mention this side needs to be up. So it's gonna have to be washered on this side and cranked in. I knew it was gonna be a pain in the ass, but you know, here we are. It still sucks. Okay, it's getting closer. It's still, you can see there's still a pretty big gap right there. By pulling in on this, it actually tries to twist that bracket like this. So clearly I need to grind more of the door right there to get it to go in. But other than that, the rest of it is getting really close. You can see this bottom edge it's just a smidge. But this is lining up pretty close to where it needs to be now. Earlier it was kind of like off like this, so we're getting closer. So I guess a little more grinding. I've been fighting this thing for so long, and I was like, God, I almost got it. And it just wouldn't go any further. And then I realized it's because the hinge will not close any further because it's hitting the weld underneath there, just like it is on that side. So if I grind that little bit of an edge, I think we're gonna be there. Okay, this is about as close as I think it's gonna get without doing actual fiberglass work. It's pretty close. The body lines are off a little bit. Obviously this is gonna be up a smidge when I have the latch in there, which is also going to make this a smidge off, but I think I can reshape these body lines. You know, whether I gotta do that side of this or whatever. It's not off too much, so I think I can get it. I tightened it down by just kind of going through here with a ratcheting wrench, and I just shoved the screwdriver in there for like the space of like how far off the bracket needs to be. So that should give me a good idea of how many washers I need and where at and all that stuff. All right, here it is out of there. So I marked the whole edge so I know where it's supposed to go back on. And then I measured and checked how many washers, how many of these washers need to fit under each side. Surprisingly, it just kind of goes in order. I mean, which just worked out really good. But I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't. But the holes in here do not line up with the holes that I tapped at this point. So I'm gonna have to grind these out a little bit, which shouldn't be too bad. I think the hardest part is gonna be the bottom, because I'm actually gonna take the bracket off. What I might do is I might drill another hole, maybe a couple pilot holes that'll just basically for alignment of this. I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I've got it marked pretty good, so I should know how it's supposed to be, but I don't know, we'll see. Okay, this is with all 5 bolts on there. This is still off just a smidge, which is really annoying. But I think I might be able to get by with, when I actually mount the body, maybe if I mount the body just a little bit out, just pull it out just a little bit when I screw it down, so then that body line will line up a lot better. And then back here, you know, like we talked about before, it's gonna be up just a little bit with the latch, which does make that a little bit worse, which kind of sucks. But once again, I think I might be able to pull out on the rocker. That, I mean, I can keep playing with these washers, but I mean, honestly, like, I know it seems like this video isn't very long, but I mean, I bet I've got 10 hours in this door, at least. Possibly more than that. Actually, it's probably more than that. It's just, so much work to like try fitting it and dremeling it and, you know, doing all this crap. But yeah, so moving on, I'm gonna start looking to see if I can find the door latch, see what I can do about that. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with the company. I'm gonna have to end up messaging them, because now that I'm looking at the door latches, they're not there. I don't have the interior door handles, I don't have the exterior door handles, I don't have the hood, I don't have the latches, none of it. It's like none of the door hardware, I got absolutely none of it. And there's a few other things that I've noticed that I've been missing, like for instance, I never got the fuel cap, it's just not there. And I'm sure there's other things, so I'm gonna have to go through the list and like figure out exactly what I'm missing, because they're gonna have to send me a box of all this crap, because this is so ridiculous. But the door is at least bolted on there. I still got to do the other side, which unfortunately, the other side is going to be even worse because, like I showed you, I'm gonna have to cut the mount off and re-weld stuff to make it work. So dumb. But there's one door mounted, I guess. I guess if you want to see it, I'll show you, you know, opening and closing the door so you can see kind of how it works. You know, like I said, it is scissor door. I don't know how far exactly it's going to open, but yeah, you get the idea. It's going to be pretty sweet. So I think honestly, I think that's going to be it for today because that was a lot of screwing around with one door, and honestly, it was more than just today. It was several days. Today was just a really long one. I spent, I don't even know, at least 8 hours on it today. But I think that's going to be it. So like and subscribe, do all the things. Peace out.